Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video with myself and Sloth today. There's been a lot of rumours about incomings, Sloth, at West Ham, but there's also quite a few now coming around about departures at West Ham, and that is of Nayef Aguerd, who's been at the club for a couple of seasons now. Hit and miss, really. It's been an up and down signing, and this is now coming out that Rennes and Lyon and amongst other clubs are set to bid around 35 million for the West Ham defender Nayef Aguerd. So 35 million is quite a lot of money for someone who hasn't really been putting in the best of performances in a West Ham shirt. There's obviously been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with himself and Moyes and the club that isn't great, to be honest, doesn't look great. So yeah, first off, what are your kind of thoughts of Nayef Aguerd's time at West Ham so far? Because it was definitely a signing that we were excited about, because it was kind of a different direction that we were trying to head in with a ball playing centre back that could give us a little bit better in terms of possession.
I think it's been really frustrating. It's a signing that Mike and I in particular were very excited by. He really impressed in his time at France, and we both kind of felt that he was physically ready to come to the Premier League. He was regarded as one of the strongest and quickest centre backs in France at the time, and that just seems to have dissipated. After that injury that he picked up in pre-season, that physical side to his game just seems to have massively deteriorated. And the Newcastle goal that we concede is a big part of why I think that it's perhaps the best thing to look at, because he just doesn't seem physically ready to cope with the Premier League. And I don't mean that in a sense that he's a big athletic guy, but it's just in those moments you can't try and buy a foul. You have to be prepared to put your head on the end of something, or be stronger in that moment. You can't rely on a foul being given. And disappointing time, but I think he has shown a lot of glimpses. He's shown a lot of ability, and that's the reason that these sides are rumoured to be paying a decent price.
Are you surprised that it's being rumoured as around 35 million, which is probably about the same as we paid for him, maybe a little bit more? I know he had a very strong World Cup. Obviously that it got off to a really bad start for Aguerd, didn't it, with that injury in pre-season for West Ham. It was definitely something that put him on the back foot straight away. And like you say, I think the physicality is the biggest, clearest issue to his game right now in the Premier League, and he just hasn't been able to get over that. He's obviously been in and out of the squad this season. I think he's only made like 21 appearances in the league this year. He's been part of a defense that's been leaking goals and goals and goals. And to be honest, he has been part of the reason for why that's been happening. So for a person that's now 28 years old, it just hasn't worked out for him. Do you think it's a player that Lopetegui will be looking to keep, or is it probably best for us to just cash in and then Lopetegui can go elsewhere for the likes of Kilman that he's worked with in the past?
Well, I think we know that he wanted Aguerd in his time at Sevilla. There were those links there, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is interested in keeping him. I personally think, though, that it's probably best for us to just part ways.
Yeah.
Particularly when it's the sort of money you're looking at paying. I'm personally not surprised that the fee isn't bad. I'm surprised it's basically what we paid for him, but he is a pretty big name in terms of African football, and he is also someone who has all the ability. He would excel in a team that isn't sat back, I think, and I can fully understand why he wanted him at Sevilla. So I personally would look to move him on. I think if we can get the 35 million, just reinvest it. I think Kilman is a great homegrown option. I'm not necessarily sure he is the answer. 35 million pounds is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the Gilherme transfer where we can spread these payments across multiple seasons. It's going to be a case of, if you want a top quality defender, you're probably going to have to pay the bulk of it in upfront payment or the first early payments. So I would, personally take the money and run. I think he's definitely the most bankable asset we have in the defence at the moment. So I think that's probably going to be on Lopetegui's mind as well.
What do you make of the, it's all kind of behind the scenes stuff, but the fact that he hasn't played in so long for West Ham? Obviously, he was picking up injuries and stuff, but, there were strong rumours of what's happened behind the scenes in terms of, Aguerd's attitude problems and, not really wanting to play for West Ham and making that quite clear to the manager, David Moyes, at the time. So, again, is that something you can't really get out of a player? Do you think Lopetegui still might be looking at him as, like you say, he's someone he wanted back in Sevilla? He's still only 28, and he could potentially be, part of that transformation that Lopetegui wants to build at West Ham in terms of, like you say, being in a more possession-based team, dominating possession, having ball-playing centre-backs, being a key part of that. Or do you think it's just, I know we're both kind of agreeing that we probably would move on from Aguerd this summer and use the money elsewhere in the squad, but I don't know. How do you think Lopetegui's thinking this at this point?
I think it's normally you would say it's just part of the modern game. Footballers are difficult to manage, but I think when Moyes was very adamant that he was his number one centre-back target, I think for a player to have done a full sort of 180 on how he feels or his attitude to do that to the manager who backed you so much, I think is probably what's going to worry Lopetegui, or would create a seed of doubt. And you just kind of think, if there's a run of games where you don't pick up points, or you have to really battle against it, is this the person you want in the trenches alongside you? Is this, are you going to trust this player to really get everyone motivated or give 100%? So personally, I think Lopetegui should be very cautious with it. I know it's again, I said it's the modern game, and footballers these days are a completely different animal to the ones you were dealing with 20, 30 years ago, in terms of how much power they have in the dressing room. But I just think that when you're coming into a new club, you want people you can trust. And it's not just a case of, the old cliche of trusted players. But I think you want someone that doesn't have this prior risk.
So you can see us actually getting 35 million for him, because I think that's quite a high fee for someone that's, like we say, the performances haven't been good in the Premier League. We know that the attributes he has, he can be a top class centre back, but for someone that hasn't really shown that over the past couple of years in a West Ham shirt, is that fee really justifiable? What do you realistically think he will be going for? Is it around 35 million?
I'd be surprised if we got 25 million. I'd bite your hand off for 35 million, but I think it's if it is going to be that, I think it will be in incentive based, based on European qualifications, because both Rennes and Lyon are sides that are going to want to chase top four. They that's where they should be, and they've both underperformed. So I think any sort of fee like that will be based on them bringing back a top four challenge.
There could also be a Saudi club that comes in for him as well.
Yeah, I think if a Saudi club comes in, he's a massive bankable asset over there. So it's a case of, it's probably not going to matter to them. But I can see a Saudi club playing it. I can't necessarily see a French club playing it, especially with their TV rights up in the air at the moment.
Yeah.
But I think I would be very happy. I'd be happy with £25 million, to be honest. But I'd be very happy with 35 million.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it will probably be between 20 to 25 million if we are going to sell him, unless it's like a Saudi club, like you say. But yeah, I think definitely it's time to just let Aguerd go and bring in someone fresh into that defense that Lopetegui wants to bring in, and be part of the new process this summer. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on Aguerd in the comments. Would you be looking to keep him under Lopetegui with a fresh, clean slate, or is it just time to move on and use the cash elsewhere across the squad this summer as we rebuild? But yeah, let us know in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as always. And Sloth, until the next one,
Come on, you
come on,
Irons.
you Irons.